absolute beginners. This is lesson 6, building out your scene. So if you've followed some of the previous videos, we have had a basic introduction to our meshes, to building a table, to insert edge loop, extrude, and just some other basic tools for modeling and transformation. There is actually an unbelievable amount of stuff that you can do just with these simple tools. So today we're going to look at some of those. Students in my class are required to complete the table tutorial, and then what I ask them to do is to fill out the rest of their scene to build an interior. Now, what kind of interior they choose is completely up to them. It must have the table in it, but then they get a choice of adding some different objects. Some students chose to do lamps, some students chose to do candles, and on and on. And sometimes people ask when they're going to submit their very first rendering, oh, hey, is it okay if with the table, is it okay if I also build a chair on my own? Or a different kind of table, maybe with some spheres, as part of the base. Absolutely. And that exploration is really what we want to encourage here. So we see in my scene, I just have the standard, the starting cube. All of that is great. What I'm going to do is switch into edit mode, and I'm going to begin drawing out a bit of the scene for myself. So I'm going to add a floor. So if I just click on the add cube button, we can drag it out and drag up a very thin cube to be the floor. You could also just add a plane, but I kind of like getting to control the dimensions. So that's sort of up to you. We can add in some walls. You can choose to duplicate this, or you can choose to add in another wall. You can change the height. All of these things are parts that we can edit later on. Oops, hang on. I'm working on my laptop, so I'm having some trouble. There we go. Okay. I usually do 3 walls instead of a full 4 walls because I want it to be sort of like a stage set. But honestly, for now, my camera is pointing this direction, so I really don't even need the 3rd one. If you think of a set for a stage, you leave the 4th wall open for the audience. In this case, I usually leave the 4th wall open for my own camera and my own renderings and things like that. Again, the arrow here is pointing up, so you can see that the camera is positioned this way with that rectangular face aiming at the scene here. And it's starting to look a little bit more like a room. You may decide that you want to go in and make these walls taller or anything like that. We can talk more about that when we get to framing and rendering. But even if we look at our rendering right now, just going to render image, we can see that this is sitting on a floor. I actually already like this. Now, eventually we will talk about this, but you really don't want any of your viewport or any of that kind of empty space, that grid in the background over here that's not being taken up by anything. You really don't want that visible in your final renderings because it takes your viewer out of the scene and it makes it a lot less convincing as, a virtual world that you've created. So I do encourage you to set it up so that you have this stage set or your scene a little bit fuller. So there are all kinds of things you can add to an interior. Even if we go over here to add cylinder, right? I'm going to switch back into object mode. Hang on. I was in edit mode, so it just paired itself to all of these cubes. So what I'm going to do is go back into object mode. There we go. Add mesh cylinder. See how it added separately? People discover that sometimes by accident, that it'll be paired to something, grouped to something that you didn't mean. Honestly, the quickest way to do it, if you realize that happens, is just to undo it and make another one. You can unpair them, but it's a whole thing. So I have my cylinder here, and I'm just going to move it out. So even simply, right, this is like not that serious. It's just a cylinder. If I go into edit mode and I select the face, if I select, hang on, I'm going to go back to my selection tool instead of my create polygon tool because that might not go that well for me. If I select just that bottom face and I hit X, it'll bring up my delete options. I want to delete that bottom face. Boom, you got a lampshade. So you can begin just in very simple ways like this. And then you can create a lampshade for yourself. If I want to, I can scale that top face down. You can make it an interesting shape. It really truly does not matter. If I grab my move tool, I can adjust the settings and the proportions for that. I want to make that a little taller. But again, it truly depends on what it is that you prefer for your scene. If you're looking for a base, maybe I just want to make, I don't know, maybe I just want to make a sphere. Hang on, I did it in edit mode again. Oh my gosh, you can see because it's not popping up in my scene collection. You can hit tab, but I'm just showing you because if you use a lot of quick keys, it doesn't get shown. See, it's popping up there, and if you open it up, we can see. So if I go here to add mesh sphere, boop, he pops up on his own. We can make this sphere above our floor. You can make it rest on your floor in whatever way you choose. I'm gonna scale that down a bit. Whoop. There we go. And we can make this our base for the lamp. I may also put a cylinder to kind of connect it. Maybe I'll make a foot of it somehow. Honestly, I could just duplicate this and move it down to be the base. There's so many things you can do, and none of this is difficult, right? This is just stuff that we're doing with the basic transformation tools and our basic parts of our mesh, which are vertex, edge, and face. So this part, you get to sort of decide how you want to fill out the scene and what you want to be in it. And this could take some tweaking and we could be here for quite a while. But this part is sort of up to you and your creativity. Do you want to add a bookshelf? Do you want to add, we're going to do a couch together. We can do that later on. Pillows, softer surfaces. This part is really up to you and your creativity. And what sort of a scene you want to create, what kind of interior you want to create. So, happy modeling. Let me know what you come up with. And as always, let me know if you have any questions.